Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is August 12th, and right now we are looking at the visible satellite imagery. You can see western Washington socked in by the clouds. Yesterday was ringing out some light drizzle. In fact, for some areas in the morning, kind of a nice break there. And you can see Olympic Mountains is above the fray there. If you get up in the higher terrain, you get above that marine layer, and you can see it carved into the valley areas. There's Mount Rainier. But watch what happens as we scroll through the days. You see the cumulus build across the Washington Cascades, thunderstorm activity for British Columbia. Then we go through the nighttime hours, and you can see thunderstorm activity continuing across the North Cascades. Nice cluster moved up in the very early morning hours, and that continues on right now, right here across places. Just east of the Cascade Crest, thunderstorm activity ongoing. Some thunderstorm activity here is going to be apparent for eastern Oregon today as well, British Columbia. And in the extended forecast, we have an upper level low. It's going to set up off our coastline here, could bring some convection back out into western areas. We're going to dive into those details, and we're going to get the hype train going on this upper level low over the next few days. So I'll show you that in the weather models here in a moment. Looking at the subscriber count, we've got about 10,000 new subscribers in 2024. So again, thanks for everybody who's clicking that subscribe button. It's free to do so. And again, thanks to all my subscribers and all my supporting members that come back to check the channel on a daily basis. Taking a look at the mid-level water vapor loop, I'm pointing you to this energy out here across the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. That's what's going to be moving across the Gulf of Alaska and set up our upper level low here. Slight differences in the track of this low are going to have huge implications on what kind of activity we get here across the Pacific Northwest. We're going to go over some of that here in a moment. Looking at the station here up on Highway 20, this is where that cluster of thunderstorms moved up very early in the morning today. And you can see the thunderstorm activity last night, and then that next round here, plenty of lightning strikes there. And you can see how well the station picks up those strikes, gives you the exact time and the exact distance the strike is away from you. So if you want a nice, affordable home weather station, also does a lot more than lightning, click on that link down below to save 10% off. Thunderstorm outlook today does include the Cascades, Northeast Washington, Eastern Oregon. There's some severe weather threat out across portions of Montana. Includes Pocatello, Idaho, and Jackson, Wyoming. That is a wind threat there. Now taking a look at day two, something similar here for Northeast Washington, maybe a little bit less coverage, and you can see some of that activity pushing a little bit off to the east, Eastern Oregon and Idaho. So day one, isolated dry thunderstorm potential here for Eastern Oregon, does move into Idaho, but there is some fire start potential with the thunderstorm activity today, as well as a flood threat. So not often you get flooding and the fire threat at the same time, but alas, here we are. Taking a look at Seattle, and 71 degrees yesterday. 78 is the average high for this time of year, and we're probably going to remain slightly below average here over the next few days and possibly on into next week with the upper level low and some troughing still around. We'll dive into those details also. Seattle, red flag warning here. This is actually Spokane National Weather Service that has highlighted this red flag warning, but that is the fire threat. You can see cloud to ground lightning, erratic outflow winds to 40 miles per hour, and new fire starts are possible. And then on top of that, you've got flash flooding as well. Republic, Omak, Winthrop, just off to the north and east of Lake Chelan, there is that flood watch. Flooding, mudslides, and debris flows are possible with some of these storms. They're going to be very isolated here, but they could be prolific precipitation producers as well as lightning producers. Now, taking a look at the North American model, hot off the presses, the 12Z run. Let's put this into motion, and you can see as we go through the afternoon hours, look at some of these potent showers, including maybe Lake Chelan with some lightning strikes today as well. But you can see they're fairly isolated, but these could be, again, flash flooding potential with some of these storms. As you see, some of this activity moving across the Blue Mountains here, Eastern Oregon. Then another slug of moisture moves up across the region. Convection likely as we go through the day Tuesday. Thunderstorm redevelops here for some portions of Washington and British Columbia. And then we scroll off into the future, and we start to wane that activity a bit as we go through Wednesday. But then we've got an upper level low that's going to be coming for our coastal areas that's going to get us active again. Now, looking at the high resolution model, I want to show you this. This is just for the one for hot off the press, the 14Z, but you can see some of these have trouble written on them for some individual locations out here as far as precipitation and a lot of lightning being created by some of these storms. So looking at quickly here at the HRRR, this is 80-meter wind speed. So I want to show you as the convection goes on today, you can kind of see the southerly winds, for example, running back up into northeast Washington here. Then you notice how they switch back to northerly. That's, I guess, the outflow winds. It could be, spawning some of those fires and pushing the flames around here otherwise. So yeah, heads up for that. And you can also see the gusty winds on the east slopes of the Cascades. We have a nice onshore flow as we go on into this afternoon. Taking a look now at the fun stuff off through the extended forecast. You got the European on the left versus the GFS on the right. This is yesterday afternoon's model run here. So you can see the troughing kind of hanging out here as we go on in through Tuesday, and then we get a little bit of a break there. A little tiny bit of a semblance of a ridge tries to build in as we go through Wednesday and Thursday, but then you see the next one setting up shop, and you can see the pretty good model agreement between the European on the left and the GFS on the right. And again, the differences here in where this sets up have huge implications on what kind of convection can come back out into Western Oregon, Western Washington, and back out into BC. It's the European a little bit further south at this upper level low versus the GFS, at least as of last night. But then they come into pretty good agreement by the time we had it off into Friday night. And you see this thing just spin right off our coastline here, retrograde a bit, and then finally pass through. You can see the GFS kicks it out much quicker than the European model. We'll see how that trends over the next few days as well. So this is going to be interesting here, and more on that here starting now. This is the European, the 06Z run. So quickly, we'll go over the thunderstorm activity today, tomorrow, and then Wednesday moves off to the east a bit more across the higher terrain of Idaho. But then as we go on into Thursday and then to Friday, you can kind of see that upper level low setting up shop off the coastline. And right at the end of the run, you see this activity coming out of the south and the southeast. This would be thunderstorm potential for some of the Willamette Valley, Western Washington, including Seattle and Vancouver Island, Southwest BC. So that is what we are watching coming up here. Now, taking a look at what this upper level low, and I'll show you something that we need to happen if we want to get convection out west of the Cascades. I know some people are looking at us like we're crazy. The weather nut lovers here across the Pacific Northwest want to see thunderstorm activity, but then again, you've got most of the sane, rational people across the region that don't want lightning strikes in their backyard. But anyway, I digress. Let's take a look at what's coming here as we go off into towards Saturday afternoon. You can kind of see you want that southeasterly flow to kind of steer things a little bit off the Cascades if you can, but the southerly flow a lot of times is enough to get it done also. So you can see the European here on the left and the GFS on the right. And this is about Saturday night. And so we're looking again at 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. You can clearly see this upper level low, this dynamic system right off our coastal area here. But again, small differences in the position of this upper level low have huge implications for the weather we're going to get. So if we take a look at the ensemble members, this is the GFS. This is last night's run versus yesterday morning's run. So we'll put this into motion and see what's going on here. This is the average of all 30 ensemble members, and we start to head off in towards Thursday, and you see that trough carving out, and you see the GFS trending a little bit further south. So that's better for the weather weenies here across Pacific Northwest. And so you can see it. A little bit of a trend southward with that action here, and that's going through Saturday, and it kind of hangs out the upper level low a bit longer. It looks like maybe a little bit of a deeper trough as we head off into the early portion of next week. We'll worry about that later. Now, the same thing here with the European. All 50 ensemble members averaged out here. This is last night's run versus yesterday morning's run as well. So put this into motion. There's a trough hanging out, a little bit of a kind of a ridging, and we're not too worried about that. This is what we want to know. Here we go at the upper level low, trended a little bit deeper, it looks like, and a little bit further south over the last 18 hours. So, this is going to be interesting here as we go through this weekend. This upper level low is going to be parked right off our coastline, and sometimes these don't like to move very quickly also. Now, this is the European. I put the lightning flash density potential. This would be for Sunday morning. Again, you can kind of see this southeast through northwest trajectory here as this convection would be moving up across the region. So, fun model watching here over the next few days as we try to figure out if we are going to get some convection west of the mountains. Now let's take a look at the smoke. I know there's still some smoke aloft here across areas Seattle north as we go through the day today, but this is aloft, and you can see the Williams Mine fire here kicking some of this out across the region. Then you can see the afternoon blow up of some of these fires across the Oregon Cascades, continuing to spread smoke across the area. So we do have the onshore flow, but some of this upper level smoke is still going to be in our hair as we go through the next couple of days. And this could also be a player with this upper level low. It sets up shop off our coastline. We could get some more reintroduced back as we go through the weekend, but we don't have to worry about that right now. One thing at a time. Now, looking at the surface smoke, this is the 12Z HER run here. So this is if you would smell smoke at the surface. You're going to be at some of these areas. You can see this kind of pushing up towards Yakima a little bit and then towards the Tri-Cities and I-84 and whatnot. And you see Lake Chelan, you're probably smelling smoke at times as you go through Tuesday morning. Spokane, moving across the Columbia Basin, eastern Oregon, and the Cascade fires here across Oregon as well. So you can kind of see if you are downwind of some of these fires, it's not too pleasant. The good news for people west of the Cascades is you're not going to be smelling surface smoke here over the next couple of days at the very minimum. Seattle, National Blend of Models, average high temperatures here. You're still looking at the upper 70s, so this kind of seasonably cool as we go through the next 10 days. It's to be expected with that upper level low around. Now looking at the GFS, this is 2-meter temperature anomaly. This is the 06Z run, so last night's run. If I put this into motion, you can see as we go on in through Wednesday, you can kind of see the below average. This is 2-meter temperature anomaly, so this is at the surface. You can kind of see the below average temperatures, but if we scroll off a bit into the future, you can see how the upper level low is going to be with us off the coastline, keeping places west a little bit cooler than normal, but you can see the above normal temperatures across a lot of BC there and east of the mountains. So we're going to be dealing with this mixed bag as we go on in through next week, and then potentially warming back up a little bit again here. We'll see how that goes. No promises right now, but looking at the fires out there, also just want to kind of point things out that we do have these active fires, and this is a pretty good map, Western Fire Chiefs. You can go ahead and scroll in here and you can click on these individual locations and check out and see what it says. You can see the Williams Mine fire is now up towards 10,000 acres. And this is for, let's see if they've updated this. They have an NW 11 and 12. They've got the lightning bolts out for today and Tuesday. And, they probably could have something out for NW 8 and NW 9, but they do have the elevated risk here, probably just because they are producing more precipitation than some of these storms across eastern Oregon are forecast to do. Here's the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, below normal. So it's a sharp near normal cutoff here as we go through the 21st. This is probably going to be changing here, and we're probably going to get the below average signal pushed off to the west a bit more and the above average signal starting to creep in. And there's the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook. Here's the 8 to 14 day. This is probably going to be going away because, as you saw, we're probably going to be warming up across a lot of the region here as we go through the later portion of August again. But, not too, what's the point in worrying about that right now, right? So, yeah, anyway, fun stuff coming up here. That's what we're going to be looking at over the next few days. The next couple of days is going to be very important because the models have picked up on the upper level low. You saw there's not much model disagreement that we've been looking at here. And let's scroll ahead to that one more time. We're going to go ahead and click on the GFS here and take a look. But you can see that we are not dealing with a lot of disagreement between the European and the GFS. We're just going to be watching the subtle motion of this upper level low show up in the forecast over the next few days. So, I'll be watching every single model run from here on out and trying to pinpoint the trend here and see what's going to be coming. But anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. Click like and subscribe. We will do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.